Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome back to the Billy Andre Show, the only show on the internet that'll make you smoke tons of cocaine while staring at the ceiling and lying on a sofa. How are you doing, my friend?
You know, we just said let's not say any of that stuff in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, but it's relevant.
I know it is, but I either go in and have to edit all of that out.
Are you going to just bleep like my
entire
intro?
It would make no sense if I do that.
No, it won't. No.
So I'll just leave it then.
This is called the artistic trap, you know? Where
Okay.
You asked me to censor myself. I refuse. And so I paint you into a corner.
15 minutes out of an hour. That's 25% of the time.
Oh, dude, like, you know, it doesn't really matter even if we, like, you know, stick to the 15-minute rule or whatever bullshit rule that YouTube is coming up with. Yeah, it's gone again. We're still not going to get promoted because this podcast is going to go to some strange places because we are talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Sigmund Freud.
Woo, yay.
Yeah.
Sigmund.
Don't say that too early.
Okay.
He's an interesting guy, and by interesting, what I mean is the 19th century definition of the word interesting, which means batshit fucking insane. Just out to lunch on like 80 different things, but weirdly also kind of correct. And you'll see what I'm getting at as we go through it a little bit here. So,
are you going to promote cocaine usage now?
No. Although Freud did extensively. We will get to that bit.
But he didn't know. But anyway, let's get to your episode because otherwise I can go on my own rants. And
how much do you actually know about Sigmund Freud? Like from a guy because I know quite a lot. Like going into this,
because you studied that.
Well, yeah, because I studied psychology, and Freud is one of the first things you learn.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Well, I know he was all about the mommy-daddy issue kind of situation, where that's where he became famous, right? With like you'll have issues because your mommy touched you inappropriately.
There's a lot. It's kind of like that, but also kind of not. Like the mummy daddy issues part is correct.
Okay, daddy touched you and mommy didn't love you, kind of thing.
We'll get into it a little bit. It's a little bit more complicated and more insane than that, but that's a pretty good summation of it, if I'm honest. So
every time you say Sigmund Freud, that's like he was really good at what he did, but he was really fucked up in so many ways. That's all I know about Sigmund.
Yeah, I mean, also good at what you did is kind of relative. I mean, Sigmund Freud was like, you know, born in an era before psychology existed, and sort of it didn't really exist until long after he died. Like proper psychology as we know it today.
Well, it's fascinating because if you look back in the day, because it's not back in the day, it's way back in the day.
It's way back in the day.
it's a couple of generations before us, to be completely honest. You could be the best in your field and the only one in your field.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, well, I mean, there might be some really niche fields of things that you could do, be like, I am the only one in the world, but I think like everybody's kind of, because we're so connected, right? So
yeah, science has become like, you know, connected in so many ways that it's like, you don't get like regional movements anymore, like the Frankfurt School in Germany or whatever. Like you don't get loads of like regional clusters of intellectuals like you used to get.
Yeah, you don't get intellectuals to begin with, Billy, anymore. I'm just saying.
Yeah. The public intellectual thing, I mean, what have we got now? Like Stephen Fry, that's the closest thing we've got to a public intellectual. I mean, Noam Chomsky's basically dead. Slavoj Žižek's kind of insane and nobody really knows who he is. You know, public intellectuals are kind of rare these days, you know?
Yeah. Well, what's his name? The animal guy?
Attenborough.
He's a public intellectual.
Yeah,
well, he's almost gone. Bless him. Well, dude, it's going to be such a sad day.
I know. I was talking with my partner about this the other day. It's going to be really depressing when Attenborough dies and then his eulogy, like his parliamentary eulogy, is read by Keir fucking Starmer. Or Nigel Farage.
Which would be even worse.
Which would be even worse and dumber.
Because that man influenced 3 generations at this point.
Oh, more, almost, you know, because he's been around literally since the 50s.
He is one of the greatest human beings that ever lived.
True, and he was, like, director of the BBC for a while. You know, he was in charge of a lot of their programming.
Well, I can see why he's not the director there anymore, because they're all fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I think it was too much like office work for Attenborough to sit around in the BBC offices.
But imagine him. Now you can observe the average reporter sitting in his cubicle. I imagine he was doing that. He was getting bored.
Just like writing about his employees. Like, Sandra goes to the coffee machine. She pours another cup of black with 2 sugars. This is a recurring pattern. She will come here many times a day. That's what I'd be doing if I was him. I'd just say things in my voice and just have fun with it.
Yeah, just don't do any work.
Yeah.
Just get paid for not doing anything.
Anyway, let's talk about someone who's just as important as David Attenborough, but also much less cool. In his own way, anyway. Sigmund Freud was born in 1856 in the now defunct Empire of Austria, or whatever it was called back then. It was that part of Europe where it like changed hands 50 times, like in between the First World War and all sorts of shit. So he spent like most of his life in Vienna. That's basically where he calls home.
Not a bad place.
Not a bad place at all. Very, very nice public housing. Really beautiful infrastructure. Also very fucking expensive to live there. And this is also true back then, because Vienna was seen as like a cultural capital of Europe.
Yeah.
You know, it was like Vienna, London, Paris, Berlin. There was like a few cities where like culture and intellectuals sort of gathered, and Vienna was one of them. He's kind of known as the father of psychology. This is, a kind of inaccurate, as we'll get into later, because modern psychology, as we know it today, with the scientific method and all of that shit, that did not really start until the 1970s. Everything before that is kind of a mess. I'm not going to lie. Even the stuff they were doing in the 50s and 60s, like, that was before they had ethics boards.
Yeah, well, listen, if you don't have an ethics board, of course you can take a pic to his nose.
Yeah, of course you can electrocute puppies to death. That kind of shit. I mean, it was the ethics board thing didn't really come around until like people started really like looking at science, like the science being done, and going, "Wow, that's really fucked up and damaging to people. Maybe we should stop doing that." And it's like every single psychology like A-level student has this thought at one point where they think, "Oh, if only those ethics boards weren't around anymore, we used to get real shit done,"
Yeah,
because the old experiments were so much more like brutal than the modern ones. Like in the 50s, they were looking into eating disorders, and so they basically got a bunch of dudes and put them in like a locked building and starved them for a month.
I mean, they did survive. Did they get water? I hope.
They got a semi-starvation diet, which was like 500 calories a day and water. I
mean, you can survive with that. There's
recommended is like 1,600 to 2,000.
Yeah, no. If you but people fast for months, and there are famous people, which I can't remember his name. He went on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, of course he did.
But he's actually a really good actor, and he goes through these periods of his life where he fasts for a whole month, just water, and apparently your body goes into this sort of state where it's like sort of eating itself. But if you're fat enough, you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to be fat enough. These guys were not particularly fat. These guys just lost a lot of weight and basically developed eating disorders and psychosis. It's very interesting stuff.
That's nice, yes.
Very, very revealing study, but also completely unethical. Like, you would not get away with that shit today, because you're actually just encouraging young men to starve themselves in ways that are probably permanently damaging.
I mean, they do it for free nowadays.
But in Freud's time, the concept of ethics for science just didn't exist. Like, the scientific method itself wasn't really a thing until kind of after he was like done with most of his work. Interestingly, he might have had partially a sort of indirect responsibility for the scientific method being written the way it is. That's how much of an influence Freud had over like not just psychology. Like, obviously he started an entire discipline. That's pretty cool. But he also had massive influence on all the other intellectuals at the time, because they were all reading his shit.
Yeah.
For various reasons, which we will get into. He also invented like many sort of common language terms that we use today when we're talking about psychology and whatever. Projection, that's one of his.
Okay.
The idea of like, people project their own internal biases onto other people and assume they're acting for the same reason.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to buy a hot dog because I fucking love hot dogs. I assume that the person, next to me is also buying it because they fucking love hot dogs. But they might be just like desperate. They might just be like, oh, well, this is the only food place for like 10 miles. So I'm going to get
but you in your head, you're like, he's buying because he loves hot dogs the way I do.
Exactly, yeah.
He wouldn't love it the same way I do because, I have to take it to the other room and do some nasty stuff to that hot dog. But he's probably just going to eat it.
Yeah. I mean, we never know. He might be buying it to feed to a dog or something. It could
be. That's what you were thinking.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking he was going to stick his dick in the hot dog. That's entirely on you.
That's not how hot dogs work, Bill.
Well, why are the buns shaped like that, Andrei?
I will explain it to you later.
Phallic symbol. I'm already quoting fucking, the Wicker Man. This is not going well. But yeah, like loads of terms. Defense mechanisms. The idea of psychological defense mechanisms. That's one of his. subliminal messaging, like the idea of sneaking like subliminal messaging into advertising. That's kind of a term that he kind of co-pioneered as well. You've heard of the id, the ego, and the superego.
Yeah.
That was his sort of, development on how unconscious desires worked, We'll get into that a little bit more, but just sort of so you can understand the sort of time frame that he was working in. He got his medical degree in 1881. He worked in a psychiatric ward for about 5 years, and then he went private and started taking private clients, and that's when most of his sort of research was done, like after that.
Well, when you don't have to dodge people throwing shit at you, I think you have a bit more time to actually think about things.
Well, you're not having a conversation with a guy who's locked in a... Bear in mind, this is like the 1880s.
So they were probably straitjackets. Maybe not even straitjackets.
No, this is like the pre-straitjacket, just locking people in fucking cages and shit.
Yeah, it's okay, it's fine.
We spray them with water every day because they refuse to shower. And they stab us every time we open these cages. Not thinking at all that maybe they're stab happy because... they're in a cage.
And it's your fault they got in the cage.
Yeah, and you could let them out, but you're not going to. Now, people at
Back
the time...
Back in the day, really, those were the times.
Yeah, those were the times with all the horrifying assault that was done to various people of poor health. Like, a lot of... if you ever get a chance to, I encourage anyone listening to give this a shot. There's a museum by the old Bethlehem Asylum, by Bedlam, where the word Bedlam comes from.
Yeah.
There's a museum there of with all the quite a lot of documents of the guys who had come in and what their conditions were, and it's interesting, right? Because all these guys are dead now. Obviously, this is like the 1800s or whatever, but they always would come in with stuff like rude and ungallantous behavior, shit like that.
Rude and ungallantous behavior.
Yeah, or public drunkenness, persistent, that kind of shit. They would all come in with these whimsical sounding 1800s mental conditions, hysteria of the mind. It was just insane
Listen,
stuff like that.
it's better than hysteria of the foot, because that's. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I've got a hysterical foot right now.
If your foot develops a brain. And it's hysterical at the same time.
I have a foot.
It's it wouldn't be fun, would it?
No, it would be kind of insane to have your foot talk to you.
And that's how he ended up there.
Wasn't there an anime like that where the guy's right hand became his girlfriend?
Yeah,
it was really weird.
I don't know the name of it.
Midori Days. I remember Midori Days. I remember because I watched it. I saw concept art of it back in the day. I was like, what the fuck is that? Is this a metaphor? Turns out it was a metaphor.
Yeah, I gotta love animes.
Always doing the weirdest shit. Speaking of weird shit, though, back to Sigmund Freud. When he, went private, he started developing this revolutionary idea at the time, right? What he called, he started working on hypnotherapy, abandoned that because it didn't work. He started, this was a period of his life where he started, really championing and writing, very informative papers about how cocaine was a magical drug that could solve all problems. Coincidentally, do you think he was high when he wrote that?
I bet he was.
Fuck yes, he was. He was high as shit. In fact, he had to have several surgeries after his cocaine abuse got too bad.
But do you think cocaine back in that day was stronger or weaker than now?
Probably depends. The stuff you buy on the street was fucking hella stronger. The stuff you get on the street now is 20% pure if you're lucky. Nowadays, it's mostly just cut with really bad speed. So it wasn't good then.
Yeah,
but back then they were getting the heart. It wasn't illegal yet. They had no idea how damaging or addictive it was. So they would just they would sell this stuff by the fucking bucket load.
I mean, wouldn't a collapsed nostril give it up?
Yeah, I think that's what happened to Freud because
I think if something makes your sinuses collapse on you, might not be good for you.
Might not be.
I'm just saying, just from the point of view of not having a sinus, might be a bad thing.
From the point of view of not having a face, yeah I can see how it makes sense.
That will make it bad for you.
But yeah, funny enough, one of his best friends at this time was a guy who was an ear, nose, and throat surgeon.
Oh, there you go, finding excuses for him, Billy, already.
Well, no, the weird thing was they worked collaboratively quite a lot. They used to pass patients back and forth. The particular nose surgeon in general had this idea that various parts of the brain and the nervous system were controlled by certain areas of the nose. Different, you ever seen one of those old brain diagrams where it's here's where the personality is stored and whatever. He basically thought that, but for your nose. So he could fix people's mental health issues by operating on their nose. That's what he thought.
Well, it does fix some people's psychological issues because, when they go get plastic surgery, they feel so much better afterwards.
So
in a way, he wasn't wrong. He was ahead of his time. Beverly Hills wasn't Beverly Hills quite yet. So, in a way, he wasn't wrong. I'm just saying, it's there.
I'm pretty sure that it's unconfirmed at this point, but I'm pretty sure that Freud was friends with this guy during his peak cocaine head times, and then had to have his face basically reconstructed by this guy afterwards.
I mean, it's good to have a friend like that when you have a cocaine addiction.
Yeah, exactly. He had a lot of weird and important friends, did Freud. Like I said, lots of people in Vienna were intellectuals, and they all sort of collabed with each other. It's like, YouTube and Mr. Beast collabing with everybody. It's kind of like that. For like an example for the kids.
So, kids, Sigmund Freud was like Mr. Beast. Less charitable and less rich.
He was definitely less rich. But yeah, he wrote a very, very important and influential paper on the benefits of cocaine. And then a couple of years later, when it was discovered that it was all it was all kind of bullshit, he got kind of disgraced for a little while and sort of slowly, quietly stopped talking about it. But whilst he was doing his massive amounts of cocaine, he stumbled across a sort of therapy structure that he would use for the rest of his career. It's called free association, right? It basically just means sitting and talking about things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that actually work?
Amazingly, yes. Sitting and talking about your issues is actually kind of fucking key to it. But, surprisingly enough, this wasn't a thing back then. People thought that, if you had a mental health condition or like schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever, it meant that you were just like fundamentally broken. You couldn't be fixed. There was nothing that could be done for you. May as well just lock you in this asylum until God has run out of time for you or whatever. That was basically their opinion. Freud was one of the first guys, wasn't the first guy, but he was one of the first guys in a group of people to actually look at mental illnesses as stuff that affects like everybody.
Yeah.
Kind of, if that makes sense. This is still the 1800s we're talking about, so everyone was still massively a cunt. But,
people are still massively cunts.
True.
That didn't change. That didn't change. Wait. I think the only constant in human evolution is we're all kind of cunts.
Yeah, people are just kind of cunts. It's a good... See, we're past the 15-minute mark now, Andre. We can say that one.
Oh, yeah, no, we cannot. We listen, we sweared already. Just keep on going, Billy. It's fine. We're never going to get monetized. I'm okay with it at this point. I'm just...
Acceptance. You see, this is the final stage of grief. No, so let's talk about Freud's body of work, actually, because like a lot of the sort of underlying assumptions that you make about psychology today sort of come from him. Like, just talking about stuff being a good idea, that was kind of a thing that he kind of fostered,
Yeah.
Like I said, wasn't the only guy, but he was one of the big ones. And another couple of underlying assumptions that Freud's work sort of put forward that you might think of obvious now, were kind of revolutionary back in the day, because it's the 1800s. A lot of people are still Jesused up. They're still very, very religious. There's still a lot of, social conservatism and stuff. People's ideas about what human nature was were going through a massive flux,
Yeah, because you got a lot more information. A lot more people are willing to actually talk about the fact that science, it's not religion and it's not voodoo.
Yeah, the difference between science and religion was growing, It was a much more substantial thing. And also, you had guys like Darwin coming out with like theory of evolution and eugenics.
He got a lot of hate, bless him.
Oh yeah, he did. He came from a family of priests. They were very unhappy with Charles Darwin. That's why he didn't release the book until he was like 65 or something.
Because everybody else died, and he's like, "All right, I can do it now."
Yeah, kind of. I think he was waiting for his dad to pass or something. Don't quote me on that.
It was probably like, I don't want to be the one killing him.
Yeah, I don't want to give him a heart attack. But yeah, there was a couple of underlying assumptions which Freud's work sort of put forward that a lot of people take for granted now. For example, human behavior is driven by the unconscious desires. Desires that you don't know about, somehow controlling your behavior.
Yep.
Kind of an alien thing at the time. People didn't think that way. People thought that, there was just one unifying person, that was you, and then you just did all the things. You are in control of everything.
Yeah.
Not necessarily true. There are unconscious, desires and drives that people don't think about. Yeah. That was one of Freud's main sort of points. Also, the idea that there was, the separation between like the conscious and the unconscious. Well, he said it was unconscious, pre-conscious, which is where like language comes into it.
Okay.
And then conscious, which is like the final thought. He thought like all desires come through the unconscious bit, then they get like turned into language, and then we recognize that as a language, and then we think about it.
Okay.
That's like sort of his base idea.
Yeah.
These sort of like ideas were kind of revolutionary at the time, and a lot of people sort of went, well, what do you mean? I know myself.
Sure you do.
Yeah, sure, that's not how that works, buddy. But people believed that until, a lot of Freud and his followers sort of came along and dispelled that notion. Then he sort of moved on to like developing this idea of the id, the ego, and the superego. Basic bitch time. Let's go for psychology 101. The id is like your unconscious desires for the most part. It's basically your desire to sleep, eat, fuck, that kind of thing. It's not purely like instincts, but it's like, it's where you would get like, those weird little sort of habits that you do. Like if you always count to 3 before you like, hit a light switch, you have to turn the light switch on and off 3 times, that kind of thing.
Do you do that, Billy?
No.
Okay.
No, but like...
I had follow-up questions, sorry.
This is not psychoanalyzing me.
Are we not?
No. But like, even such like unconscious desires, like as who you're attracted to, because people are attracted to different features for different reasons.
Yeah. That I know for.
Because people don't really know always why they're attracted to somebody.
Yeah.
Because you can look at someone who, in a photo, you wouldn't find them attractive, but then you see them moving around and talking, you do, and it's a very that's the kind of thing he was talking about. Unconscious desires. I have a desire for X unconsciously. It drives my behavior and I rationalize it.
Yeah.
All of this is like really, really basic bitch shit now, but it was kind of revolutionary at the time. And not a lot of people were talking like this. Then he moved on.
Is that when he switched dealers?
Yeah. What he moved on to is probably the most controversial part of his work, which is his seduction theory and infant sexuality model.
Oh.
Yeah.
They don't
he went
teach that
there.
in school.
They don't, because it's fucking insane. So he proposed, based on his research, that there were 5 stages of psychosexual development, as he described it.
Okay.
He kind of put those 2 words together for the first time as well.
Psychosexual.
Which is an awesome combination of words, I'm not going to lie.
Say it 5 times in a row.
Psychosexual.
And then turn around and Sigmund Freud's going to be right behind you.
Just smoking a pipe like, have a seat right over there.
Have a cold.
Have a line. But yeah, so you start with like the oral phase, which is like when you're like 0 to 6 months, basically breastfeeding. That was his idea.
Okay.
So the infant sexual desire, in massive fucking air quotes, is fixated around like oral stuff, like with your mouth, because that's the what you're using to explore the world. Then the next stage is anal fixation with you see where this goes off the rails.
Go on, because I'm curious where you're going with this.
Because that's when you learn how to control, it's toilet training time. That's when you learn how to shit. So then all your focus of sensory sexual desire is on your anus for some reason, according to Freud. Then it moves on to the phallic stage, which is like between 1 and 2 or something, I think. And basically it's when you become you become obsessed with like the differences between men and women and gender and like a dick versus a non-dick.
Yeah.
We'll get into that bit specifically in a second, because this was where he spent most of his time in theorizing. He then proposed that there was a latency period between the ages of 5 and like puberty where like no sexual development happened, basically.
Just everything went on standby.
Yeah, kind of, like, because your body hasn't done puberty yet, so it doesn't really count as sexuality until you get to... And then when you reach puberty, it becomes like genital fixation. So, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't have to go into what that means.
I was seeing if we're going to go into it. I did not interrupt.
It just means that you think of sexuality as getting pussy. Like, or dick, whatever. That was the kind of... That's the development. Okay. That was what he...
You're the one that fucking blushing now, Billy.
Well, it leads on to this this interesting phrase that he developed. But anyway, he thought that a lot of psychological problems in adults were caused by some sort of traumatic event or during one of these phases that caused you to stop your development at that phase.
So what you're telling me, between the age of 5 and 14, for example, you can have as many traumatic effects as you want because your sexual desires are on pause. So you could
You're
go
not,
in there.
This is a salient critique right here.
You can go in there and just traumatize the child between 5 and 14.
And it'll have absolutely no consequences.
No
on
consequences
whatsoever.
whatsoever. This is what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, there's some holes in this theory.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. Like I said, this theory got him a lot of criticism from basically fucking everybody. The fixation thing in particular was really, really stupid because the idea was like, okay, so if you're, a really clean person, like you clean obsessively, you have like OCD wasn't a thing back then, but if you have OCD, that means that you have an anal retentive, sexual development flaw, which means that something that traumatizing happened when you were learning how to toilet train, and therefore you're obsessed with it for the rest of your life, and therefore it causes neurosis and mental health problems when you're an adult. That was kind of the crux of his theory, that kind of thing. Getting stuck was like kind of, he said it was more common than people realized, because of course he did, he was trying to promote himself a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you could sort of see where his logic comes from, if that makes sense. Like, okay.
No, I can see putting one in, sometimes things happen and they're calling coincidences.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So it's like, there's this YouTuber, he's Vsauce, Michael.
Oh, Vsauce, Michael
Vsauce,
here.
Michael here. Yeah, love the guy. So he did a short recently, was the distance if you would put the sun on the top of your head, the distance between the sun and Uranus proportionally would be the same as in the human body. And I'm not even joking. And then if you put the Earth on the nose, and it's the same sort of proportional distance between the Earth and Uranus.
Really?
It's just a coincidence.
Chakras. Tree of life. The Buddhists were right all along,
it's
man.
It's called a coincidence, right? But I love the way he did the video. At the end of it, he was like, coincidence? Yes, it was. He did it like that. It was a great video.
That is exactly the kind of thing that you might get from a lot of reading Freud. He further developed this infant sexuality theory into his more famous terms, the Oedipus complex. You ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, so the Oedipus complex and its counterpart, its female counterpart, the Electra complex, basically means that when you're a boy, a small child, you want to kill your dad and shag your mum.
No.
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 No. That's sort of like it reduced down to its like most base format. But he worked off of this idea that all boys want to desire, keep their mother to themselves and defend, protect her and stop, anyone else from having her. Basically.
Yeah.
Your mother as a form of sort of like model relationship for future partners, caregivers, that kind of thing. Utterly insane. Utterly mental. And it got even worse when he started trying to apply it to women. Because then he came up with the Electra complex, which is the opposite way around. You are jealous of that your mum gets sexual attention from your father, therefore you want to kill your mother and also have sex with your father. But at the same time, he theorized that a lot of young boys' behavior was driven by a fear of castration, like a fear of having your dick chopped off.
That's still to this day.
I mean,
I'm quite afraid to get my dick chopped. But you know what I learned? How you don't get your dick chopped off? You don't just put it into things. You don't just whip it up and put it into things.
You don't whip it out when you're chopping vegetables.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I stopped cooking naked. I'm like, oh, is that the baby carrot? Oh, hello. You know what I mean? It's like...
But Freud wrote extensively that, boys are all terrified of castration. And whenever he would give advice to, people who are parents, and, in order to soothe the castration anxiety, you must reassure your son that his dick is not going to be chopped off. And it's like, that's not therapy, dude. That's insane. That's mental.
It's better than I was thinking he's gonna say. Because cats, right? In order to be able to trim cats' nails when they're growing up, which we fucked up with Lily. When they're growing up, you need to play with their paws. So you can reassure them, but you touching their paws, nothing bad's gonna happen, and always associate you touching their paws with a treat or some sort. We fucked up on that part, because Lily will murder both of us if we touch her paws. And she will go out of her way. She will find a knife, not even use her claws. She will smother us with a pillow in the night if we touch her paws. It's really bad.
What was that milk advert where the cats had opposable thumbs and they're all just there like...
Oh, I don't know that advert.
Oh, it's a Cravendale advert. It's a classic.
Yeah.
But it's like,
but here's the thing. Like, I was
thumbs.
thinking going that sort of direction. He was like, oh, you need to just... reassure him with this. His wee is okay, by so I'm glad he didn't go down that route, because that would be slightly worse.
That would have been worse. Yeah. Yes. The worst thing, like the flip side of that, he decided like, okay, well, if boys have castration anxiety, girls who don't have a penis must be really upset about that. So they develop penis envy, and that drives their behavior later in life. The reason that men and women are different is because of penis envy. Women are like, put it this way: boys are fearful of losing their dicks.
Okay.
Girls are constantly upset because
they don't have dicks.
Yeah. He tried to explain this is why women are more emotional than men, because they've lost their dicks in their mind.
Didn't? Out of human evolutions, they technically didn't lose their penises.
No, human biology, the penis is like the abstract one. It's the out there one.
Yeah.
It's
like so it's still there technically. So this guy, he needed to study a little bit.
DNA hadn't been discovered yet. He was still.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, he was still sort of making shit up, basically.
But isn't that everything making shit up?
Kind of, but Freud was better at it than most.
Because cocaine, dude.
Yeah, lots of cocaine. It was funny, Freud only did cocaine like regularly for about 2 years of his life before he realized it was fucking killing him. But he did go back to it recreationally at times, and for the curing of migraines and tooth pain.
He would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because cocaine is a painkiller, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they still use a derivative. They still use lidocaine,
Yeah.
Which is a similar, kind of drug. But anyway, off the cocaine shit. One of my favorite phrases that he used to describe like his theory of infant sexuality or whatever the fuck.
Can we stop saying that?
I know it's really, really uncomfortable saying it. I feel bad, but one of my favorite phrases that he used was the latency period between 5 and like 14 or whatever.
Yeah, when you can traumatize your kid. Yeah.
When trauma is just like, oh, it's free real estate.
Yeah.
He described all children as having a bisexual residue. Which is why I'm wearing the top that I'm wearing right now. With the bi flag on it. This is my bisexual residue.
Oh, well, where was the residue?
You don't want to know.
Okay, cool. I don't want to know.
Do you want to ask further questions about details? Or
No, actually, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Bisexual Residue is like the name of my new punk band. And
I'm sexual sometimes. I'm just the residue.
Residue of society, man.
That's your first song, man. Leftover residue. No, you can't say leftover residue because that's
redundant. Yeah. Sort of. Freud was like kind of a controversial figure even back then. This like theory of like childhood development or whatever that he created, basically everybody said it was bullshit. There's even Einstein got in on the action, saying that this proved that psychology was not a real science and it was basically a bunch of twats making shit up. And to paraphrase him, Einstein was a funny guy.
I mean, even what he came up with, what Einstein came up with the E equals MC square, I'm pretty sure he fucking bullshitted a whole bunch of it until it's like, oh, actually it worked out. So it's like, come on, all sort of science is bullshit until it's proven.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, that's the thing we're going to get onto with Freud in a bit.
Okay.
But first we have to discuss, sort of generally why his ideas were really fucking stupid. And here's a thing that you don't hear so much anymore, but like every time that you hear about like a weird science claim, check how they came to it, check about the sample size. In Freud's case, most of his theories came from working with rich middle-class adults and their kids who had mental health issues and who came to him privately for practice.
Okay.
They were paying him. It was paid clients he was taking. So there's a massive fucking bias right there. He didn't actually meet all of his famous case studies that he did, like Little Hans, for example. Really famous case study of like a father who was trying to help his like child with castration anxiety or whatever. Little Hans, Freud never met him. He met him, I think, once in passing, never had like a proper conversation with him. all the therapy, quote unquote, was done via letters to his dad, who was one of Freud's friends.
Oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, you see, and apparently the boy grew up to despise his dad anyway, so it didn't really work.
His dad sounds like an idiot.
His dad was kind of a fucking moron, yeah. He was listening to this weird, crack-smoking pseudoscience guy.
I mean, they didn't know crack was bad.
True. Actually, they hadn't invented crack yet. It was just smokable cocaine back then.
Smokable cocaine.
Smokane, if you will. But yeah, he was, basing his sort of theory of everything about psychology on, really neurotic, rich, upper middle class people. Like, it'd be like if you went to, Hollywood and got a bunch of actors to come in and tell you about their problems, and then, decided all of your theories on human nature from that.
No, yeah, I see how that.
You're gonna get a lot of whining about lattes,
You're gonna get a lot of whining about, because if you would go in the real world, I'm pretty sure there were bigger problems he could solve.
Yeah, I mean,
but nobody would have paid him though.
Exactly, damaged veterans coming back from World War I did not have enough money to.
Why would you fix those? They're fine. Another war's around the corner.
Yeah.
Send them back.
Oh, they just need to go to the pub. They'll be fine. Yeah. Let's get some liquor in you, boy. That was basically mental health care for poor people, just drinking. Yeah, so because, the scientific method hadn't really been codified for psychology yet, there was there was absolutely no testing of any of his theories whatsoever. He never got one group, exposed them to one condition, and then got a control group. Never did any of that.
Yeah, so there's no scientific method to it.
He also, quite ironically, because he invented the term projection, he actually projected a lot of his personal shit onto his psychology, like his theory, For example, the castration anxiety thing, he was really, really pissed off because Freud was born Jewish. He grew up in a Jewish household, and he was atheistic, but he still culturally kept the tenets of Judaism. He was really pissed off about being circumcised. He was really upset about that.
So all his theories were... You reckon that all the theories he created was about himself?
Yeah, kind of.
And he was the only case study that he actually studied?
Kind of. He always projected his own sort of views and biases. He filtered his patients' experiences through himself, and that was his theories, basically.
Yeah, but that's so flawed, because you only have your opinion to go off of it. And if you already think you're the smartest man in the room, all of a sudden everything you would say is fucking bullshit, because you're not the smartest man in the room. Maybe he was quite intelligent.
He was a very intelligent guy.
I'm not gonna hold that against him.
But he did have a massive ego and was a bit of a narcissist.
There you go. Dude, that explains it. Most massive egos are not good for science.
There's testimony from people who sort of worked with him and had discussion groups with him in university when he was lecturing as a medical doctor, because he was qualified for that. A lot of people said that he was sort of almost kind of cultish in the vibe, that his social meetings would have. They would gather and smoke cigars and discuss high-minded important topics or whatever. And they always said, well, when Sigmund said something, it was the final word on the matter. That was it. He was the guy in charge, And a lot of people sort of,
So it wasn't a debate.
No.
It was a whole bunch of him listening to himself talk.
Not just him listening to himself talk, but him criticizing other people talking and saying that their opinions were dumb. He was kind of an egotistical guy. Not gonna lie. That sort of projection of his own sort of anxieties onto people is very much the big flaw with his thinking.
Yeah.
Or sibling jealousy, for example. He wrote a lot about sibling jealousy and how the interaction between siblings could cause neuroses when childhood events, blah blah blah. He was kind of basing that on himself because he had a traumatic experience. He had 8 siblings. Freud was the oldest of 8 siblings.
Okay.
When his younger brother Julius came along, he was very, very jealous because Julius was getting all the attention from his mum and his parents.
The age difference would have been
just enough.
Large.
Yeah, I think it was a few years older, but yeah. So he then his younger brother unfortunately died. I think he had leukemia or something like that. And he remembers, he made the connection between him wishing his brother was gone to his brother dying, and he felt very, very guilty about that. So his ideas about sibling dynamics and family dynamics in general came a lot from that experience.
You know, man, I'm listening to you about him. I think he needed a therapist.
He really did, but they didn't invent one yet, so he had to do it himself. He did a lot of self-psychoanalysis, by the way. He wrote like extensively on that.
So, but you'd think doing therapy on yourself, isn't it something like you representing yourself in a court of law?
Kind of, yeah.
Because it
doesn't work.
You still have your own opinion, and you wouldn't be necessarily sort of open to anything else except for what you would say to yourself.
Yeah, like your mind has limits in its ability to perceive itself.
Yeah.
You know, because you might see patterns of behavior and accept them as entirely normal, but to the outside, everyone thinks, oh, that guy's an alcoholic. Even like, you know, going to the pub every night and drinking a lot, to use my example. A lot of people would say, you're an alcoholic. It's all subjective, you think. And the brain is very, very good at rationalizing your shit.
I'll say nothing.
I was a bit late today because I got too drunk last night. Anyway.
No, it wasn't that got you late today.
Fair enough.
Smoked your own fucking joint.
I'm not submitting to any crimes on this podcast, unlike you. That's your job.
BDI little. Oh, go on, please.
Yeah, also the obsession with dick was like a bit of a problem for most people at the time. A lot of people, you know, accused him of being phallocentric, as the word. Which
it's a lovely word for it.
It is. It's a very nice word for saying he would not shut the fuck up about dicks. He thought everything, especially when it came to women, was all about dicks.
You reckon he was a closeted gay or not?
No, he was not. He had lots and lots of affairs with women, like his wife's sister, and stuff like that.
Fair enough. That will prove he's not gay.
Well, I don't. Well, he actually. We'll get to that. Also, you know, a lot of his ideas, while they sound really cool, like the id-ego, superego thing, like, you know, compartmentalizing your mind into 3 bits, that was kind of nicked from like previous philosophy and religion, you know, the Trinity, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Makes sense when you think about it. You know, God is divided into 3 parts, so is man. You know, that was kind of some of the thinking back then.
Fair enough.
A lot of his theories also didn't work in practice. This was less sort of a problem that was noticed because let's put it this way: no one was checking Freud's work. No one was going up to his patients after 5 years and saying, "Do you feel that your experiences with Dr. Freud have helped you in this, that, and the other?"
Yeah.
No one's doing that. No, it's not a thing that people did back then. They didn't do follow-ups, you know. So he just wrote down whatever shit, like gave them a false name and published it. And
oh, he wrote his own thing then.
Oh yeah. Like most of the stuff was like written by him, and there was no peer review. There wasn't any like other guys coming in to check his work for faults. You know, he just published shit, and then people would widely criticize it, which happened quite a lot. Funny thing is though, his daughter, which I'll leave you to mull on this for a second. Imagine being the daughter of the guy who invented the phrase penis envy. That's got to be a weird fucking childhood, man.
I reckon, like, she never had a proper boyfriend growing up. Well, you wouldn't have in that period a boyfriend anyway to begin with. But you would grow up and be like, who's gonna marry her?
Yeah, like...
It's like, that dude, I'm gonna have to go have dinner with him. Oh, he's such a cunt.
Yeah.
Keeps on talking about my penis. He almost asked me once to touch it. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, he has this theory that, you know, imagine going on a date with her. Like, imagine going on a date with Sigmund Freud's daughter. She's like, the reason you have selected the red wine rather than the white is actually due to trauma about your penis and, like, when you were 5. And, like, you know,
you would think she would have been into that, or just... Because she's a woman, and this is the 1800s?
She was more of a 1900s person.
So it's like, well, at that point, she still wouldn't have had to say.
Not really, no. But she was quite a famous psychologist in her own right.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was. She carried on and developed a lot of his ideas, like defense mechanisms and stuff. Like,
yeah.
Quite
so she actually did some homework then?
Oh, yeah, she did some work. She actually tried to sort of keep the flame of her father's ideas alive, like, for as long as possible. Even up to the 60s when people were developing a lot faster and, you know, the cognitive revolution was just around the corner, etc., etc. She was still doing like one-to-one, long-term, you know, casework with quote-unquote patients who would like basically live at her house while she did therapy for them, and it was kind of abusive situation there, you know, like.
Yeah, there's a reason you're not allowed to date your therapist.
Yeah, I don't think she was dating this woman, but she was like, you know, intensely involved in her life. And after 10 years of work, 10 years or more, I forget how much, the woman was still exactly the same. You know, she tried her best with all of the tools that she had in her arsenal, and it just didn't work. you know? And that happened quite a lot with Freud's patients.
I assume
you know?
she was extremely rich. That's why she was there for 10 years.
Oh, she was very, very rich.
There you go.
She had like a little cottage in the country where she could like seclude her patients with her. So, very strange. She could probably be a podcast all to herself, Anna Freud. Very interesting lady. Had some good ideas, more so than her dad, but also, you know, kind of dropped the ball when it came to keeping with the times, you know?
Fair enough.
Yeah, psychodynamic, assessments and psychoanalytics, the way that Freud did them, they kind of don't exist anymore because a lot of it relies on symbolism. And the problem with symbolism is it's symbolic. It's subjective as fuck.
So it will be different for every single person.
For every single person who reads, like, you know, Freud got his start in, like, interpreting dreams. He wrote a really successful book about, like, interpretations of dreams. Like, all those, live, laugh, love, interpret your dreams bullshit, you know, things you see. A lot of it's based on him. A lot of it's based on his stuff.
So they're all based on flawed analysis?
Flawed symbolic analysis of bullshit.
Here's a stupid question.
Yeah.
What's with the ink marks?
Oh, the Rorschach tests.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of based not on necessarily Freud's work, but on the work of lots of different guys at the time.
Is he from the same period or is he much later?
He's a bit later, but he is from the same sort of movement because
fair enough.
Freud's movements kind of defined a lot of early psychology and psychiatry as it is.
Okay, cool. Because I always seen it in movies, right?
Yeah, it's a very common, like, it's a very visually striking trope.
Because, obviously I haven't been to a therapist because I'm doing a podcast. So I don't need therapy. I'm fine. So I never found myself.
This is therapy right now. Tell me about your mother.
No. Wow, Billy. Where should I start? No, go on.
But yeah, the thing is with symbolism is it's completely fucking different in every culture around the world. Every single person interprets symbology differently. And Freud was always relating it back to
Is the ink marks based on that, though?
Say again?
The sort of ink marks are based on that.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's like, oh, here's a random image of, like, ink blots. You know, what do you see? And, like, what your first association word that comes along gives some sort of window into your psychology. Which, true, but, like, I could look at, like, 15 Rorschach tests about, let's go, burger, hot dog, chips, food, lamb, you know.
Billy, you're a glutton and you need to actually look into that.
Or I'm just really fucking hungry today, you know. That's the thing, you know, what you see, the symbology will change over time and depending on what mood you're in. So you can't really sort of get an accurate read on somebody's internal processes just by what they think some ink blots are. You know, it's a really, really shallow window into someone's brain, you know. The other thing, and this was pointed out by Karl Popper, a very, very important scientist, basically the guy who invented the modern scientific method. He pointed out that Freud's theories were all completely fucking bullshit because you can't actually test them.
Well, yeah, which is true, because you can't just be like, this is 60 adults. We did tests on them, and because there's no actual test you can just do on them.
No, especially not back then.
Yeah, so it's like bullshit.
Yeah, it's unfalsifiable. Like, if you can't prove something wrong, you also can't prove something right. You know, it's that's sort of a basic sort of scientific theory that kind of indirectly came from Freud being a famous almost pseudoscientist.
So basically, Sigmund Freud, it's only famous because
he was wrong. Yeah,
and because he was loud, because that's how he pushed all his ideas on people.
He was very good at self-promotion. He talked a lot. He wrote a lot of big books that sold really well. He wrote a lot of papers that were very influential. Lots of people read them. And he was a public intellectual with a profile that people listened to, because even though he was insane and saying some really out there shit, people listened.
But did any of this actually come out to be like, okay, it did help science in a certain way?
Actually, yeah, it did.
Oh, is that the next thing on your list? I'm sorry,
It is.
Sorry, dude.
But there was a lot of stuff that he got wrong which had negative consequences as well.
I mean, yeah.
For example, have you ever heard the word catharsis?
I did.
Yes, that's one of his words that he sort of popularized as well.
Was he using it wrong?
Yes. Well, he said, in order to quell the internal unconscious desire, sometimes this desire must be expressed physically. It must be acted upon in order to satiate the unconscious desire. That's what you would call catharsis,
So what I heard from that is, I have the urge to murder someone. So the only way I can do it is by doing it.
Yeah, kind of. That's kind of the idea. They discovered much later that catharsis is actually really bad for your mental health because it, like, you know, causes guilt.
It also reinforces a behavior that you shouldn't do, like killing someone
or taking shitloads of drugs. Or, you know, like,
because that's how psychopaths keep on being psychopaths, because they can feed their addiction.
Yeah, you know, like people going around punching each other for like catharsis or whatever. Yeah, it's not good for your mental health, man. Because you just end up with a bunch
for your body.
Yeah, it's just you end up with a bunch of ancillary bullshit to deal with. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Also, this is a bit out there, this theory, but his description of the word catharsis might have accidentally kind of sort of led to the Algerian Civil War. Anyway, moving on to the things that I
love how you didn't give any fucking explanation for that.
I will give a bit of explanation for that, actually, because there was a very, very important French-Algerian philosopher and psychologist called Frantz Fanon. He was a black guy. He was from French Algeria. And he wrote a lot about like the psychology of racism in like the early 50s. Like, you know, I can't remember what the essay is called. He wrote a very, very important essay about the perspective of like colonized people in respect to their colonizers.
Yeah.
You know, he came up with lots of theories about, you know, why some people of color act out in ways that white people want them to, and some don't. You know, that was kind of his sort of theorizing on it. He also got involved in the Algerian Revolution.
Oh, fair.
He was kind of their main sort of philosophical thinker behind that. Apparently, he tested the leader of the rebels by going up to him and calling him a slur in French, which I will not repeat. He's, you know, when his book became quite a big deal and people were passing it around, he said, not bad for a bleep. And the revolutionary leader stood up and slapped him and said, "You will never say that word around me again." And Fanon smiled and said, "That's exactly the response I was hoping for." Yeah, he's like, "You're serious about this? Good. I'm on board." He came up with a theory that, you know, colonized people needed, you know, a cultural catharsis in order to, you know, recover their sort of dignity, as it were, like cultural dignity, the idea of, you know, kicking off their oppressors, that kind of thing, which I can see where his logic comes from.
No, his logic is like, yeah, I get it. You have to go back to your identity, but unfortunately, colonization happened, and you did been introduced to different culture, and your cultures basically had an influx of European culture in there.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong in still having your culture, but also adapting and modernizing with the culture that you've been introduced to.
Yeah.
And making your own thing. So you take those two things, you put them together, and all of a sudden you have sort of the same base culture, but maybe I want to almost say improved, but who am I to tell it was better or worse?
Yeah, it's different. That's the thing. Like, cultural change happens anyway, even in really like conservative cultures like Islam or whatever. It's always changing.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's coming for you.
Yeah, change happens whether you want it to or not.
Yeah.
But Fanon's idea was that, you know, some sort of cultural catharsis was needed, and he thought that cultural catharsis was the Algerian Civil War, which was a very, very bloody war. Killed a fuckload of people. The French did not let go of Algeria willingly.
When are we going to stop with this? Dude, war never helped anyone.
I know.
When are we going to actually learn as a society that war, if you put war in it, you messed up. You're done. It's like there's nothing there.
I want to make it clear. Frantz Fanon wrote some really, really important shit, which is really, really good. But the problem was he grew up like with Freudian psychology as his background. And I think that influenced his thinking in a way that probably made him less accurate and less sort of revolutionary than he might otherwise have been.
Fair enough.
Well, when I say revolutionary, he was definitely revolutionary. He was involved in a revolution. But I thought his work would have lasted longer and been less sort of if he'd, like, you know, ditched the Freudian stuff completely. But, you know, Freud was an important thinker.
He didn't know better at that point.
Nobody
I mean,
did,
if you look with 2025 glasses on, you'd be like, dude, the fuck is wrong with you? But also, if you would have looked with 1950 glasses?
Yeah, 1950s, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's the thing, it kind of did at the time, you know. They hadn't discovered that catharsis is actually bad for you until about, you know, 20, 30 years later. So it's life is a long tapestry of weird bullshit which we got wrong. So that's the fun fact about hindsight. You can just look back at it and go, fuck, we
shouldn't have done that.
We shouldn't have done that. But I will say this for Freud's work, like just sort of to try and, you know, get to what I think was the most interesting thing about him. Even though he came to his conclusions in like the most insane, roundabout, like child sexuality fucked up way possible. Like everything is related to your dick or vagina somehow. You know, every boy wants to stab their own father. All that shit. even though he came to the conclusions wrongly, like in the wrong way, he accidentally turned out being right on a lot of things. I'll give you an example. This is, I heard this story from the Adam Curtis documentary, Century of the Self. Very, very good documentary. Also really fucking long. It's available on YouTube, but it's really fucking long. Like, it's 9 hours. It's a long, long-ass series of documentaries. But there was an interesting story in there that Sigmund Freud's cousin, he had quite a lot of cousins, they were all over the world, he ran a PR firm, a public relations firm in America. And they were trying to work out in the 1920s how to advertise cigarettes to women, how to make women into smokers.
Oh, I know the story.
Yeah.
I know the story.
The story is, unconfirmed, but apparently this man called up his cousin, Sigmund Freud, and asked him, how do I sell, make women want to buy cigarettes? Why would a woman want to smoke? How can I get, this addictive product into the hands of women? And Freud said, give me an hour. Called him back an hour later and said, well, the cigarette is a symbol of the masculine, of the penis. Therefore, by smoking the cigarette, it involves the woman is asserting her control over the masculine elements of her life by burning the penis in effigy. Therefore, you should market it as cigarettes are a way of rebelling against a male-dominated world. And that's how they did it. And it worked. So that's the kind of shit I mean. It goes through, you can go through the most mad route possible, but you still end up at the same destination as if you went, logically,
Yeah.
It's pretty easy, now to think of the idea of, hey, we're marketing this as like a rebellion against society thing, because lots of things have been marketed that way.
Yeah,
but
a lot of people took that and ran with it for the longest time. They're still doing it now.
Yeah.
Like you can see it in perfumes, clothing, and all that. This is bring the rebel out.
Yeah, it's like, be daring, be different, be Lacoste, shit like that.
Wow, that was weird. You knew that. Or you were...
I'm just paraphrasing a whole bunch of perfume ads I've seen over my life. Leave me alone. My brain just smushes them together.
Ew.
But that's the thing. A lot of his sort of theories about, they kind of ended up coming to, accidentally right conclusions, if you look at it in a certain way.
Yeah.
Even his weird infant sexuality shit. His whole, psychosexual development model. Complete bullshit. The things he lays out on it are completely wrong. But he got quite a few things right. The idea that you model your sort of future romantic partners on your attachment relationships to your parents, 100% true. That's where you get attachment theory and attachment styles, which are scientifically proven. So he kind of got it right that you model your behavior on your father and mother, but also completely missed the point of why,
Yeah, because you model your behavior and your mother and father because they're the first examples in your life of being a human being.
Yeah.
If they're complete dog shit, you're gonna be complete dog shit. And unfortunately, you could change if you find different models, but your first models are your parents.
Yeah, and so a lot of people grow up with a lot of anxiety and a lot of grief because their attachment style is really fucked up. Yeah. Attachment styles is a very, very, it's a very, solidly founded branch of psychology, and it does dictate a lot of our behavior. One of the current studies, which I believe is ongoing, is a longitudinal cohort study of Romanian orphans who were the Romanian orphan study, who funnily enough are about our age. They're about our age now.
I know the study.
Yeah, it's a long story study. We're not going to go into why, but it's if you look it up, it gives you a lot of insight on,
Yeah, it's very fun. If you want to be really depressed, look it up.
It is depressed because it deals with people who don't have attachment styles, if that makes sense. That their attachment is really, really fucked. And it's okay, how's it going to affect you? Oh, really badly, it turns out.
Yeah, bless them.
Yeah, poor guys. But hopefully they get the right therapy, at the end of it all.
For me, I'd rather. I doubt it.
Another thing that he was sort of prescient about, I mentioned the term bisexual residue.
Yes.
Funnily enough, these would be sort of later echoed, the residue of bisexuality that exists throughout your life would be later echoed by Kinsey with his sexuality scale, which I'm sure you've seen before.
The Keynesian no, I don't know. I didn't see it.
Kinsey scale are basically 1 to 7. Very few people are purely straight or purely gay. Most people are somewhere on the spectrum of 90%, 10%.
Is that bullshit or is it actual thing?
It's kind of real. I mean, just the statistical models tend to sort of
How would you even study that? Just go out and ask people?
For the most part.
Do you feel gay today? No, I want to know exactly how would you study that.
Well, there's lots of lots of terms that have sort of come up since then, which kind of describe it better. There are lots and lots of straight men who have had at least 1 or 2 gay experiences. They just don't, didn't like it or didn't talk about it that much. There's lots of people who have a couple of guys who they might Jude Law was a big one for a lot of people. Lots of
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill.
Fucking do Henry Cavill.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's got one, right? Orlando Bloom. Sometimes.
Have some respect for yourself.
Come on, he looks good in the Legolas outfit. I was more of a Vigo guy myself.
You're like, he looks like an elf. Give me that elf.
Give me those ears.
Come here, girl. Grab the ears. Oh, no, go on. Moving on.
Less about shagging elves in the... But even the idea of just like talking about like experiences that were traumatic to you and that being its own kind of therapy, that was kind of a new idea. He was correct about that. Getting stuff off your chest is good for you, If you have a traumatic experience, having someone you trust that you can talk about it with, very, very important to getting over it. Because if you don't talk about it, then you don't have the words to describe it. You can't conceptualize it. Yeah. It becomes something abstract.
It builds up in your head, and then it will manifest itself in the wrong way.
You displace it, and also, defense mechanisms, displacement, projection, sublimation, all of these like words that he invented to describe the way that human beings rationalize their shit completely make sense. They all still hold up to this day. Like I said, his daughter added a couple of on, herself, which makes the picture a bit more complete. And this was a precursor to what would later become cognitive dissonance theory. We've discussed that when we were talking about cults, remember? Yeah. So, the idea that you can do something that's completely counter to your self-image, but still retain the same self-image.
Yeah.
Like, he basically came up with the progenitor of that idea. So, all of this stuff that he also, all of this stuff that he sort of projected and, theorized and just sort of made up out of, like, his head, he kind of had an intuitive sense, and he was almost kind of correct on a lot of it. I mean, not all of it, obviously, because all the stuff about, like, weird child phases of anal retentiveness or whatever, that shit's mostly bollocks. But there was a core of a good idea in some of them, which much better psychologists and researchers later expanded upon.
But it's going to be 20 years later and we were like, everything we thought this correct now, that's completely fucking wrong. Actually, there's a screw in the back of your head and you change your mood by using it kind of thing, right? Something's going to happen, right?
Actually, you just have to hit the skull in this particular area.
And then boom, factory reset.
Yep, then all of a sudden you just become blank slate and they can just reprogram you again. And to be fair, I tried to think of like a modern comparison, like, what a modern comparison to Freud might be, and I kept coming back to Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
Because imagine if, like, it turns out that the dragon of chaos that embodies the feminine will actually becomes, like, a scientifically provable thing in 50 years. That's basically what Freud was like to everybody else. Imagine if Jordan Peterson was actually correct. And
that hurts. That hurts.
It does hurt the soul, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. I mean, Jordan Peterson is one of those guys who just, like, talks in such vague language, you could interpret it to mean anything. Freud was a lot better, a lot more specific.
His face is annoying me.
Yeah. What's left of it. Yeah.
And his tone is really fucking annoying as well.
And he's melting. Like, he looks like he's only like 60, but he looks like he's 75. He's like decaying, man. He's like really unwell. I hope he gets better for his own sake, but I don't think he will. There's also, like, I really wanted to sort of, like, end this with, like, a discussion of, like, how Freud's thinking influenced, like, all sorts of areas outside of psychology. Like, he influenced political philosophy quite a bit, because a lot of people saw him as, like, the answer to Marx. Like, because Marx was going on about, like, economic conditions, driving behavior and whatever. Freud was like, no, it's these unconscious desires that are very personal. So you get this sort of nature-nurture kind of back and forth between the two. A lot of the work of later sort of Marxist theorists was trying to sort of integrate the two. Yeah. You can relate it to Marx's theory on alienation from your work, alienation from labor. That's a very psychological kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if I get into that, I'm going to be ranting about this shit for literally another hour. So I think we'll cap it off there with, like, the insane life of a man who, well, I should probably talk about how he died, actually, because it was quite interesting. One of the first recorded...
Cocaine overdose?
No, funnily enough, one of the first recorded cases of euthanasia, willing euthanasia. He had...
Shut up.
Yeah,
really? Yeah. He was like, I'm done, I'm going?
Yeah, he knew a guy who practiced, he basically gave him an overdose on morphine. He had cancer of the jaw. It wasn't going to get better. It was inoperable. It was 1939. He was Jewish. He just fled the Nazis. He was just like, you know what? I'm checking out. I'm checking out here,
I did
man.
all I could for this planet.
I've done all I could. I wrote about many children who want to kill their fathers, and I'm going to hang it up.
I mean, fair enough. There's actually discussions in news at the moment about people choosing to die because of their conditions.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, in Canada it's been very controversial.
Oh, in the UK it's starting as well. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, listen,
he was a pioneer in a lot of ways, including how he died.
I respect him for being like, okay, cool, I'm done, I'm gone.
Yeah, why draw it out, I suppose. Like, all I'm going to do is see, suffering and misery for the next fight. Like, imagine just, like, surviving the Holocaust, just watching the Holocaust from afar, not being able to do anything about it as your last days of your life. Fuck that.
Yeah, be like, I'm done. I don't want to suffer inside, outside, and all that.
Yeah, I don't want to slowly decay of cancer,
I love how positive we end all of this.
We're talking about a man dying. I mean, it's always going to be difficult to be positive about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like,
totally
all of our
evil.
recordings, I love how positive we are at the end.
We always promise to end on a positive note, and we never do. So before we start talking about, like, poverty statistics or something equally depressing, shall we hang it up here?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so like, subscribe, comment.
Yeah, like and subscribe, or your mother has some sort of designs on cutting your dick off. That's a good motivator, right? That'll motivate people.
Just turn it off.
One day we'll end this gracefully, but not today.